In another sign that the American economy is weakening, it's been reported that American businesses lost 37,000 jobs in September. And yet, Donald cannot stop playing games with our economy and American businesses. He keeps announcing new tariffs, which is part of the problem here. Today, he announced a 100% tariff on foreign made films. Here's Yahoo Finance with more.
Truth Social post that just came out in the last few moments where he said, I will be imposing a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside of the United States. This is something he's teased before. And leaving aside the idea that, like, the other stuff that's tariffed is physical stuff that comes across a border, and Customs and Border Patrol tariffs it when it comes across. A movie, like, it doesn't quite work in the same way. So I don't know if sort of how technically how that's going to work. Leaving that aside, Steve, what's your take on all of these tariffs that are set to go into effect this week?
Look, I think President Trump, as we know, loves tariffs. I think it's his favorite word. And what is making the industry, and I think a lot of small businesses in particular, just reel from this is the uncertainty, the dramatic, erratic nature of the discussion and imposition of tariffs, and the way they're up, the way they're down, the new categories. There are some very, very good people in the Trump administration, I should add, that I know that work every day on trying to make the new tariff world stable, sound, predictable. But there's a dimension to the White House role, which is making this erratic and flamboyant. And it's really impacting small businesses across America and small businesses that are export. You know, a lot of the big businesses are going to find ways to get exempt from this, but they're not the backbone of the U.S. economy, small businesses. And as you kind of look at movies and whatnot, you ask a very important question. What's the regulatory world for that, right? In which we've moved to a hyper-connected digital world that now we are disaggregating and we're pulling apart and we're putting, confines in. I think it's going to be not only tough to do, but it injects uncertainty into that economy.
I am not entirely sure why the fact that tariff is Donald's favorite word is relevant here. What is relevant is that he is injecting uncertainty and chaos into the American economy that shouldn't be there because of his profound misunderstanding of how tariffs operate. Also, I don't understand why we are going to leave aside the fact that he is putting a 100% tariff on movies. That seems important to me. One, because that's an insanely high tariff to put on anything. And two, because it's impossible. As she started to point out there, how does that work? Well, I'd like to know. How does it work? And I don't think it does because movies are not physical products. But before we go on, we have to continue to shine a light on the ways in which Donald's failed economy are weakening us as a country. So please like and share this video. And if you believe in our mission, subscribe to our channel. All of this comes after Donald announced a slew of new tariffs on Friday, ranging from the extremely high 25% to the, again, insane 100% in categories of goods from pharmaceuticals to trucks, and the backlash was swift. Many countries continue to reel from another round of these massive and random tariffs. I mean, at random from the perspective of an outside observer. The Times reports that Donald's tariffs are blindsiding his own team. In a sign of the frenetic nature of U.S. policy, Donald's own trade representative, who was in Malaysia on Thursday, negotiating with officials from Asian countries, signaled that the administration was not planning more tariffs. Oops. Because obviously he was, or maybe he wasn't planning them. Maybe it just occurred to him in the early hours of the morning that he should introduce new tariffs, perhaps to change the subject away from something else he wants us not to be discussing. Despite Donald's commitment to staying on this path, it's still not clear whether or not his tariffs are even legal. If they're deemed illegal, then the United States government and the country is in for a world of hurt. The Supreme Court is going to hear a case about whether Donald can go through with his tariffs, but if they rule against him, the government is going to owe businesses $80 billion and perhaps more. Donald doesn't care about the consequences. It's not his money after all. He's willing to play Russian roulette with small businesses, the aforementioned backbone of the American economy, to prove a point that is completely nonsensical to anybody perhaps but him. And I, quite frankly, cannot be sure that the Supreme Court will rule against him, this corrupt, illegitimate supermajority. But again, if they do, what then? Is he going to follow judicial orders? Or is he going to continue to impose illegal and unconstitutional tariffs? We don't know the answer to that either. Donald's erratic policies aren't just sending our former allies and trading partners scrambling, but he's also actively losing U.S. businesses as a direct result of these policies. Donald is making it much more expensive for American companies to bring in skilled foreign workers after announcing a $100,000 fee on H-1B visas. Instead, China is taking advantage of America's abdication, and they are rolling out a plan to welcome them. On October 1st, China will launch a new visa to make it easier for graduates of top universities in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics to travel to China to study or do business. This is part of China's broader campaign to attract top scientific talent as it vies with the United States for technological and geopolitical dominance. But as we turn new business away, China will continue to grow its economy. Ours will continue to falter in the immediate aftermath of this. So remember, this is not just about a weakening economy. This is not just about the fact that the Trump regime is not helping employment. In fact, quite the opposite. I repeat, 37,000 jobs were lost in September. That is the opposite of what is supposed to happen. We are supposed to be producing new jobs. That is the only way to strengthen the economy. And of course, as I've mentioned, the fallout from the tariffs continues. But this last point might, in some ways, be the most important one. By failing to bring in new business, by failing to attract new talent, by failing to invite talented students into our universities, we are weakening ourselves in a perhaps more profound way. There's significant brain drain going on in this country. Decades, generations worth of expertise are being squandered. Opportunities that used to exist only in this country are being provided by our competitors like China. And in the meantime, the Trump regime is making it clear that we are not interested in attracting smart, capable, ambitious people to do medical and scientific research, to make this country better, stronger, healthier, smarter. The Trump regime is not interested in any of that at all. That will be to the gain of China and other countries. And it will be significantly and for the very, very long term to our detriment. Please take a second and like and share this video. Be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.